Joe podcast is moving to Spotify. Rogan made headlines recently when he announced he has signed an exclusive deal with Spotify.
The podcast is moving to Spotify. I signed a multi-year licensing agreement with Spotify that will start on September 1st. Starting on September 1st, the entire JRE library will be available on Spotify as well as all the other platforms. Then somewhere around the end of the year, it will become exclusive to Spotify, including the video version of the podcast.
The multi-year deal is reportedly worth more than $100 million. Within just 48 hours of the announcement, Spotify's market cap increased by nearly $4 billion to its highest point in nearly 2 years. At the time of the announcement, Spotify's share price was around $169, with a market cap of around $31 billion. As of yesterday, their share price hit an all-time high of over $195, with a market cap of around $36 billion. Clearly, this is a big coup for Spotify, who have now the biggest name in the podcast world and one of the biggest stars on YouTube. His podcast is the #1 podcast in the world and gets as many as 190 million downloads per month. In fact, he was Forbes' highest paid podcaster of 2019, raking in $30 million. Of course, this has led to discussion about the value of content, specifically the value assigned to music and longer form content, like Rogan's podcast. According to music writer Ted Goyer, a musician would need to generate 23 billion streams on Spotify to earn what they're paying Joe Rogan for his podcast rights. However, it is important to understand the context here. For every dollar in revenue Spotify earns, it sends 65 cents straight to the record industry. This caps Spotify's earnings potential and means that it has a less robust business model than Netflix. For example, if Netflix pays say $30 million to make a new season of Ozark, that cost doesn't increase if it attracts more eyeballs. Media Rights Capital, which produces the show, makes the same money from Netflix regardless of whether the audience is 5,000 or 5 million. However, that is not the case with Spotify. Costs rise with subscribers. Every stream will see another slice of the listener's monthly subscription fee go to the record label. We can see here that Spotify has a gross margin of around 25%, whereas Netflix has a gross margin of around 38%. Spotify has recently spent more than $600 million acquiring 4 podcasting firms, including the $250 million acquisition of Ringer earlier this year. Therefore, for a capped cost, Spotify can attract new listeners and potential subscribers. Also, the more time listeners spend on podcasts, the less money Spotify gives to the record labels. The deal has raised comparisons with Howard Stern and SiriusXM, which has made Stern a fortune. In 2019 alone, Stern took home an estimated $93 million. If video killed a radio star, did Spotify just kill the YouTube star? Or is this a smart move on Rogan's part? After all, it is expected that some clips will remain on YouTube for the casual algorithm viewers. Rogan has previously been critical of YouTube's demonetization policy and censorship on the platform.
I think what it's more like is they've got very rigid ideas of what is or is not suitable for advertising. And maybe this is coming down from the ad executives. Maybe this is coming down from the people that are at the top that have a much more progressive stance on things. What you'd call progressive. More, I would say, like hard left, like a more hard left stance.
You mean censors?
Yeah. There's a lot of that.
Overall, Rogan is banking a guaranteed $100 million in an uncertain economic environment. Although some have commented that he is sacrificing the scale provided by YouTube, he may well still have his Clips channel on YouTube. As well as this, he is licensing his podcast. Therefore, if it fails, he has pocketed $100 million and can return to other platforms, thus generating more press. If it succeeds, he has pocketed $100 million and will have more leverage in the next contract negotiations. Now that's what's called a win-win. What are your thoughts on the move? For more compounded valuable content, subscribe and like.